Okay, for this video, we'll be discussing how to work with tables in grid in Java. So I'll be presenting several steps or simple steps in using tables or jTable in Java. So the first step is to create a GUI form and add a jTable component. So in the GUI form, we use this table and then just drag to the GUI form and then just resize. So just add a JFrame form. So the first step. Step number 2 is to import necessary packages. So for this one, we will be importing the default table model package. So we just type import javax.swing.table.default table model, and yeah, you can place this outside your main class. So just before the class code for the class. Then for step number 3 is to create a table model. So we create an object. So in this case, we name the model as model, and using the default table model class. So default table model equals new default table model. So that's how we create a new instance of this class. So here on the figure, I've shown here the source code. So we have here our import, and the table demo GUI is our form, our JFrame form. So that's a JFrame form, and then we created our model. So that's the third step. The fourth step is to add columns to the model. So the default or the syntax is model.add column, and then we have the column header. So inside the table demo GUI constructor, I placed here the adding of the columns. So of course you can place this anywhere you think will be logical place in adding columns. So in my case, I'll be adding it in the constructor. So we have done this a while ago. We have created the model object, the instance of the default table model, and then here I added 4 columns of that model. So we have employee ID, employee name, rate, and hours. So these are the column header for our table. So we could not view our table just yet. What we have created is just a model. Now in step number 5 is to set the model of the table equal to the model you created. So jTable set model equals model. So this is the model that we have created, and we use this to be the model to be used by the jTable. So this is the syntax, and shown here is the actual code. So we have actually added the columns here. This is what we have done a while ago, and then next to that is to set the model to be the model of the jTable one. So we set that model to equal to model, and in doing that, if we're going to run the program, this will be the appearance of the JFrame form. So I have here now my column headers placed in my table. So that will be the appearance of the JFrame form. Then the next step is to add row to the table model. So let's say we want to add values or data to our table. So before you add data to the table, you have to add a row. So to add a row, we just model that add row, new object, and then we have this one, an array. So just leave it blank first. Okay, so in the actual code, we just add this one. So here we added the columns to the model. Before that, we actually created the instance, or we created the object, the model object. And then here we added the column. Then we set that model to be the model of the table. And then here we added the row. So we just followed this syntax. Now if we're going to look at the appearance of that in our main program, it will be something like this. So you notice here that we now have this blank row. So that is what we have done when we added that row. So this is our table. And then the last step, so this is just a simple set. So getting started with the table. So in my next video, maybe we'll be having more advanced features. So in the next step now is to set value, to assign a value to the cell. So we can set value, it can be a string, so a string and then row number, column number. So here it is so this is now the code. So we set the model, add a row, and then set value at, so this is the row number, row 0, column 0. So the row and column starts with 0. So this is the first column actually. So first row and first column. So the value we have is 1, 2, 3. It is actually an integer, but that will be implicitly converted into a string. So set value at, so the name at row 0, column 1, for 50.50, row 0, column 2, 80, row 0, column 4. So that's the first 4, or this is the 4 columns. So if we're going to look at the output now, so you notice here I have here now the values placed on the first row of my table. So that ends the presentation of my slides, but let's have a demo. So here's now my source code. Of course, in the main program, I just created an instance of my GUI form and then set visible to true to run the program. And then here, so this is my code and source. So here I already added 3 rows. So we add the row, we set the value, then add another row, set the value. So you notice here, oh wait, I think there's something wrong here. It should be row 1. So I have here the rows. So row 1, but column 0, 1, 2, and 3. So there are 4 columns. And here also should be row 2, or that's a third row, because the row starts with 0. So row 2 or row 3, so at position 2, and then column 0, 1, 2, 3. So these are now the values. So if we run the program, so here you notice I have now my values. I can also adjust the font. So how to do that? A design, I can click here. So let's try to modify the table a little bit. So let's say click here, and then maybe I can add a border to the table. So border. So let's say I'm going to use a line border. Let's say 2. Color is gray, darker gray, maybe. Then just click OK. Oh, that's the border of the inner table. And then what? Font. I'm going to change the font. Let's say I'm going to change that to 14 to make it bigger. Let's try what will happen. So notice I have here now bigger fonts. Okay, you can actually tinker on this to make some changes with your table, and most of these will be some of these how to modify your table will be on my next video. So thank you very much for viewing this video.